Okay, this is my name is Mike Overson, and this is an introduction to MikeOversonEndTimes.com, .net, and .org. And the reason for the .net and the .org is because MikeOversonEndTimes.com is finished. I lost my old Mac and my old iWeb and so I can't update it. Even though that's 99% of everything I have to offer is on there, and especially it's got the best table of contents. But I lost my Mac and my iWeb, and so all the new classes are on .net or .org, and that's classes 127x3 through 13, and AOLs that I did on, that's number 161 through 171. You won't find those on .com, but you will on MikeOversonEndTimes.net and .org. And I wanted to say that this was a introduction where there was actually a bunch of clips of different classes that taught me the best way to watch these classes, to get used to the odd way that I do things. And also, these various different clips are also a great summary of the classes that I have to offer. And one reason why this one went over 2 hours again was because I can never resist when I get revelations on the fly to teach more things. And so I got a few revelations on the fly, and so it also turns into a class a few times, like I'm going to do right now. I'm going to show you a scene from MTV. They have a commercial of Levi's mocking the One as a romantic, fantastic lover, and it's from the last class I did, 127x12. And I also have, after that, a scene from not Lonesome Dove, Dances with Wolves, because I realized, now this is something, before I knew I was the one, I barely knew I was the one in early 1995, but I was recording that movie, and I just happened to record a Bud Ice commercial, and it's sandwiched between the two kind of sex scenes in Dancing with Wolves. And I realized that was a sign from the Lord, prophesying that pornos would be 86, that I would, because that's the sexiest part and the most romantic part of the whole movie of Dancing with Wolves, and it's got that Bud Ice commercial sandwiched in between them. And I realized that was a sign from the Lord. Take smooth to the extreme, because women were offered a great big dipper of sex and mercy from heaven through the One, but they turned it all down. So that was take smooth to the extreme, Bud Ice. And they also show an avalanche there, and that is a sign of the 9/11 disaster. So that was in 1995. That was a big prophecy of the 9/11 disaster. So I'm going to show you that because I got feedback from the girls in the FBI that they didn't like the way this thing ended. They said that was too mean, it was too severe. And I was going to insert that scene saying, Bud Ice, take smooth to the extreme. That's the Lord. Take smooth to the extreme. That's the Lord's will to be Bud Ice. But also I looked up the lyrics to the song by the Bee Gees. It says, run to me when you need a shoulder. Now and then we need someone older. So darling, you run to me. And that was a sign of God's mercy. That was where I was given the title of a surf pro too, because it's a carrot and stick thing. When people go the wrong way, you hit them with the stick, and when they go the right way, as soon as they go the right way, you come back with mercy. And that's where the Lord has given me a title of surf pro, because I was so good at doing that. Also, I thought, since it just came up, I'm wearing this Pearl Harbor tee, and right behind me you can see the USS Missouri. And that was, on my other introduction, I explained that was a big part of my calling, was to be parallel the beginning and the end of World War II. World War II started when they bombed this is the Arizona Memorial in Pearl Harbor. And it began when they bombed Pearl Harbor, and it ended on the decks of the Missouri, right here. And so since it was right here in front of us, I thought I'd explain that too. But now I'll show you that clip, and then I'll finish the rest of the introduction.
Mr. Bombastic, we order some bombastic, romantic, fantastic lover. Shut it. Medicine rope, medicine book, y'all remember the who.
Bud Ice. Now brewed to go beyond, to be an easier drinking ice. Take smooth to the extreme.
Another reason for inserting that, not only was it feedback because of, like I said, the women in the FBI didn't like how it ended, but it was also an example because about 3 times when I'm doing this introduction, I take about 3 different sex education detours. It was just revelations that came up on the fly, and I realized it was something I should elaborate on. And just like this was an opportunity to elaborate on something, and so I did. Also, I thought I might add, when I watched that playback, I noticed you couldn't see the USS Missouri here over my shoulder. So I changed to a different t-shirt. This is a t-shirt they sell at Pearl Harbor. This is the Arizona Memorial that is at Pearl Harbor, and right next to it is berthed the USS Missouri. And it is the beginning and the end of World War II, and I explain it many times over. I explain it in the other introduction to these classes. It's only 48 minutes long. And there's on 1D is another good introduction that I give. So there's altogether like 4 hours worth of introductions to get the ball rolling. Another coincidence that I noticed I should mention was that MikeOversonEndTimes.net is on through Fat Cow web hosting, and that I realized was a sign. So I looked up the lyrics to the song "Black Cow" by Steely Dan. It has a YouTube copy of the song and lyrics. And when I listened to it, I realized that that song was kind of parallel the classes that I'm offering here. That was I think that song was kind of prophesying, was prophetic of the classes that I'm offering here. Also, I noticed that Black Cow is made with root beer. It's a drink that you make with root beer. And ever since then, ever since I looked that up, I respell waste was always, I always spelled waste was total ecstasy. But ever since I looked up the lyrics to that song, it's Happy Days A&W because A&W was a sign of Happy Days. It was mainly because in Monterey they had an A&W that closed down and a real estate office opened up in its place, and so that was a big sign of the real estate boom ruined Happy Days. That's really one reason I explained many times why, like in 127A, why Hawaii turned into Blue Hawaii was the real estate boom just ruined everything. Everything was so affordable, and then the real estate boom came and it ruined California and in Hawaii, and so that was. But then ever since I looked at the lyrics, I wrote Happy Days Aways, A&W Aways, because that's drink your big fat black cow and get out of here. That's in the song. That's in the lyrics. Unfortunately, out of these 200 classes that I've done, this is the first one that I've done on iMovie. All of the rest of them were done on VCR, and you obviously cannot do nearly as good a job. Like on a VCR, when you got an hour into the thing, and all of a sudden you come up with a good idea, or say it's all done, you've got 2 hours done, and you come up with a good idea. If you want to insert that good idea, you've got to redo the whole tape over again. And sometimes I've done that, and when you do, you get a not as good a copy the second time around. But in iMovie, if you come up with an idea, you can just insert it. Anywhere in the movie, you can just insert it, and you can also keep better continuity because you can look at the whole thing at once, and you can keep a better track of what's going on, which you can't do when you're recording on a 2-hour tape. Unless you stop and review the whole tape, it's hard to keep the continuity going. Also, I wanted to say for the first 40 minutes that you're going to see next, I did not know I was going to do the whole 2 hours, so I was very reluctant to do that first 40 minutes. But anyways, that's how it got started, and then I ended up doing the whole 2 hours. And then I had to do an introduction at the beginning to say that this is an introduction, and it's going to be over 2 hours and 20 minutes. So let's get on with the show now. Hi, my name is Mike Overson, and I just reviewed this 2-hour introduction, and I realized it needs a little help. And I learned something new when I was watching it, and so I put together a 2-minute clip here that will help explain the 9/11 disaster. It's from this next 2 hours. It's a scene from Mulan where Eddie Murphy playing Mushu says to Mulan, "So what's the plan?" She says, "What's the plan? Are you kidding? I'm making this up as I go." And then she comes up with an idea, and she says, "Mushu," and he says, "Way ahead of you, sister." And he flies over to this tower, and where these two guys say, "Who are you?" This is the part I was fast forwarding, so you can't catch that part. I was fast forwarding to try and save time. They say, "Who are you?" He says, "I'm your worst nightmare." And they both jump out of this tower. And when they jump out of the tower, that's where I cut in a scene. It's another from a different scene, but it's from the Twilight Zone. Well, actually, it's from New York, the center of the world, where it shows the World Trade Center is collapsing. And then it's synced to the song by Swing Out Sister. You'll hear it. The Twilight World. And I've also got a scene from the Twilight Zone there. And I realized all those together was a sign of